Imagine you're sitting in a cozy armchair, a warm fire crackling in the background, and before you lies not just any book, but one that has been a beacon of wit, satire, and profound commentary for centuries. This is Candide by Voltaire, a tale that begins with one of literature's most famously optimistic heroes, Candide, whose life takes him on a journey from the sheltered confines of Westphalia to the far corners of the world. From the very first page, Voltaire sets the stage with an almost whimsical tone, introducing us to a young man who embodies the spirit of his name, Candide, meaning innocent or naive in French. Candide is raised by the kindly but rigid Baron Thunder, Ten-Tronckh, and his wife, the Baroness. The Baron is the kind of character you might find in a fable, a wealthy, aristocratic man who lives on a grand estate with his family and their army of servants. His castle, much like its owner, is a symbol of the rigid social structures and absolute power that governed Europe during this time. The Baroness, Candide's mother figure, instills in him an unwavering belief in Pangloss, her philosopher tutor who teaches the doctrine that all events are for the best in the best of all possible worlds. This philosophy is a thinly veiled satire on Leibnizian optimism, where every misfortune and tragedy can be explained by asserting that everything happens for a reason and ultimately contributes to the overall perfection of existence. Voltaire uses Pangloss not just as a character, but as a mouthpiece for criticizing the Enlightenment's blind faith in rationalism and progress. Candide himself is a fascinating character, innocent, naive, yet fiercely loyal to those he cares about. His love for Cunegonde, the Baroness's daughter, sets off his adventure when they are both expelled from the castle under mysterious circumstances. This expulsion marks the beginning of Candide's journey, which will see him travel through various landscapes and societies, each more absurd or horrific than the last. Voltaire's choice of setting is crucial to the novel's impact. The places Candide visits, Paris with its opulence and vice, the brutal Inquisition in Lisbon, the squalid slums of Buenos Aires, the war-torn battlefields of Europe, are not just backdrops but active participants in the story. Each location serves as a canvas for Voltaire to paint a picture of human folly, greed, and cruelty. The setting also allows Voltaire to explore themes of chance versus fate, the nature of evil, and the role of reason in an irrational world. His use of these settings is not merely descriptive but deeply symbolic. For instance, the earthquake in Lisbon, which kills thousands including Pangloss, serves as a devastating critique of religious dogma and the belief that suffering has divine purpose. In essence, Candide is more than just a travelogue or adventure story. It's a philosophical treatise wrapped in satire. Voltaire uses Candide's experiences to question the very foundations of his time, from politics to religion, from morality to metaphysics. He exposes the contradictions and hypocrisies he sees in society with sharp wit and incisive observation. So, as we embark on this journey with Candide, we're not just following a story, we're being invited into a dialogue about what it means to be human, to seek happiness, and to make sense of a world that often seems nonsensical. It's a journey filled with laughter, tears, and profound insights, all woven together by Voltaire's masterful storytelling. Let me take you there now, as we delve deeper into the adventures of Candide, Pangloss, Cunegonde, and their unlikely band of companions. This is not just a story about one man's life, it's a reflection on our own lives and the world around us. As Candide embarks on his tumultuous journey with Pangloss, Cunegonde, Martin, and their ever-changing companions, we witness a series of events that challenge our perceptions of fate, morality, and human nature. Each stop along the way serves as a microcosm of Voltaire's broader critique of society and philosophy. Initially, Candide is an innocent soul, believing in Pangloss's optimistic worldview that all is for the best in this best of all possible worlds. This belief is shattered almost immediately when Cunegonde is abducted by pirates. Candide's devotion to her keeps him moving forward, but his idealism takes a beating as he and Pangloss are enslaved on a South American plantation. There, they witness unimaginable cruelty and brutality, Candide himself flogged mercilessly, while Pangloss theorizes that the whippings contribute positively to the world order. The journey continues with Candide's escape from the plantation, leading him through a series of misadventures in various parts of Europe. In Portugal, he befriends Cacambo, a young slave who becomes his loyal companion and guide. Together, they navigate treacherous terrain, evade corrupt officials, and encounter characters that reflect different facets of human nature, some kind and generous, others selfish and brutal. One of the most poignant moments in Candide's journey is when he meets Martin, a former Jesuit disillusioned by the church's hypocrisy and cruelty. Martin's pessimistic outlook contrasts sharply with Pangloss's optimism. Their debates on free will versus determinism add depth to the narrative, challenging readers to consider whether we have control over our lives or if everything is predetermined. The journey takes a dark turn when Candide rescues Cunegonde from being forced into marriage with the Grand Inquisitor. This act of heroism leads to his torture and near death in an auto da fe, only for him to be saved by Don Issachar, a Jewish merchant who sees through Candide's disguise. This encounter underscores Voltaire's critique of religious fanaticism and intolerance. Candide's experiences with the Bulgarians and the Abaris further illustrate the absurdity and cruelty inherent in war. The battle scenes are not glorified, but rather depicted as senseless acts of violence where lives are lost for seemingly no reason. These episodes serve to mock the notion that wars are fought for noble causes when, in reality, they often result in nothing more than suffering and destruction. Throughout his journey, Candide's character evolves from a naive optimist to a disillusioned skeptic. He begins to question whether anything good can truly exist in a world filled with so much pain and injustice. However, it is not until he returns to the Bulgarian village where Pangloss was hanged that he finds a semblance of peace. There, he learns about the simple life of the villagers who, despite their poverty, are content and happy. Candide's final lesson comes from observing the hard-working and satisfied farmers. He realizes that happiness does not come from wealth or status, but from cultivating one's own garden, both literally and figuratively. This metaphorical garden represents self-sufficiency, contentment with what one has, and a willingness to work for one's livelihood. Candide's journey thus becomes a parable about the importance of practicality over idealism. In reflecting on these events, we are forced to confront our own beliefs about the world. Voltaire's critique of optimism is not an attack on hope, but rather a call to realism and compassion. He encourages us to question authority, challenge injustice, and strive for a better society. Candide's journey serves as both a cautionary tale and an inspiration, reminding us that while we may not always control our circumstances, we can choose how we respond to them. Ultimately, the journey of Candide is a profound exploration of the human condition, one that asks us to think deeply about what it means to live a good life in a flawed world. Through his experiences with love, loss, and resilience, Candide teaches us valuable lessons about empathy, perseverance, and the pursuit of happiness. As we journey through Candide's life, we find ourselves reflecting deeply on the philosophy of optimism. Voltaire's novel doesn't just entertain, it challenges us to question our beliefs about the world and our place in it. The character of Pangloss embodies the extreme form of Leibnizian optimism, believing that everything happens for the best in the best of all possible worlds. His relentless optimism in the face of tragedy is both absurd and poignant, making us laugh while also pushing us to consider if such a philosophy can ever truly hold up. Candide himself starts as Pangloss's disciple, accepting his mentor's views without question. He believes that good will ultimately triumph over evil, that virtue will be rewarded, and that everything happens for the best. However, as Candide experiences a series of harrowing events, from being banished to witnessing executions to enduring poverty, slavery, and famine, he begins to doubt Pangloss's optimism. Each tragedy seems to contradict the idea that this is the best possible world. Yet, even after all these hardships, Candide doesn't entirely abandon hope or his faith in humanity. Instead, he learns a more nuanced perspective. He discovers that while the world is indeed flawed and full of suffering, there are still moments of kindness, love, and joy to be found. His relationship with Cacambo, his friendship with Martin, and his connection with Cunegonde's daughter demonstrate the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity for compassion even in dire circumstances. Voltaire uses Candide's journey to critique the philosophical systems that were prevalent during his time, particularly those that sought to justify suffering through blind optimism. By juxtaposing Pangloss's rigid beliefs with the pragmatism of figures like Martin, who sees the world more clearly but doesn't lose all hope, Voltaire encourages readers to think critically about their own views on morality and justice. One of the most striking aspects of Candide is how it questions the very foundations of what we consider a good life. The characters in the novel are constantly seeking happiness and fulfillment, yet they find that true contentment often comes from simple pleasures and genuine human connections rather than wealth or status. Candide's final reflections suggest that the best way to live isn't by striving for perfection in an imperfect world, but by finding joy in the small things and maintaining our sense of humanity despite adversity. In many ways, Candide is a commentary on the search for meaning in life. It reminds us that while we may not always understand why certain events occur or how they fit into a larger plan, it's important to remain open-minded and adaptable. The characters who thrive are those who can learn from their experiences, whether good or bad, and use those lessons to grow stronger. Ultimately, Candide is a powerful reminder of the importance of empathy and compassion in our interactions with others. In a world that often seems cruel and unforgiving, Voltaire's novel encourages us to see beyond surface-level suffering and find moments of beauty and connection. By reading Candide, we are invited to reflect on our own lives and ask ourselves how we can make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. So why should you read this book? Because it challenges your assumptions, broadens your perspective, and leaves you with a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. In a world that can sometimes feel overwhelming and chaotic, Candide offers solace in its reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is still reason for hope. It's a timeless tale that continues to resonate with readers centuries after it was written, proving that Voltaire's insights into the human condition are as relevant today as they were in his own time.